The North Korean currency is not basically an internationally traded currency, and the people who are prepared to sell North Korea components for making missiles or indeed fissile material for nuclear weapons are not interested in the North Korean currency. They want hard currency, they want dollars. So they need to generate that sort of hard currency. I don't imagine they're paying cash for these items. They're using the counterfeit money and the other criminal enterprises that they're running to raise money in deposits in different parts of the world financial system. The way that the illicit activities initiative was structured, it was like a classic way that the feds bust organised crime networks. You start with the bit part players, you start with the people on the periphery, like Chen Chang-lu, arrested in Las Vegas, having successfully passed goodness knows how many millions of counterfeit dollars in the casinos there. And you build up from there, you flip people, you turn them into informants, you get information from them.
But Wilson, you know you're still involved with the counterfeit money, right?
I didn't involve what?
他说你自己晓得你是有参加这个
No.
You lied to me earlier when you said you never touched counterfeit money before.
他说你刚对他说谎，你说你从来没有碰到过假钞票。
我碰过，但是你不晓得真的假的，you cannot distinguish.
This was in your car. This was in your car.
从你车子里面找出来的。
So you know sometimes I cannot.
Listen, you're lying. Listen, I have fingerprints, not just this one, other bills. Not just one bill, two bills. I got a lot of bills with your fingerprint.
I cannot distinguish. It's really...
Chen Chang-lu, or Wilson as everyone calls him, he calls himself when speaking English, is a very curious guy. He's a Taiwanese businessman. He built up a very successful business in the early 90s, but rapidly seems to have started doing business with the North Koreans. He came to America, settled in Los Angeles, and clearly, he had a lavish lifestyle. He lived in San Marino, a very upscale neighborhood. He drove a Cadillac. Children went to the best private schools. They had a very swanky house.
What was his business front?
Well, his business front was very vague: import, export, leather goods, and this kind of thing. But it's also clear that he was addicted to gambling, and he was addicted especially to gambling with super notes so that he couldn't, in a sense, lose. These forgeries are so good, they're on the same paper as real $100 bills. The micro printing features, 1/40,000th of an inch high on super notes, are undetectably the same. There's no difference that you can detect between them and the real thing. And experts believe that they actually deliberately put flaws into the super notes so that the North Koreans can tell when people are trying to buy super notes with their own forgeries. They need to be able to tell them apart, or else they would be losing money to the criminals who buy them. So he had been using this scam where he would play the penny slot machines using super notes. He'd put in a few super note $100 bills into penny slot machines. He'd just do a few plays, and then he'd sort of cancel the ticket, and he would get this token or ticket. He would take it to the kind of cashier's counter and say, okay, I want the rest of my money back. So he would then get, $90 in genuine currency, having played 10 or even less. Anyway, they had video cameras on him, and they realized what he was doing. So finally, they started looking in great detail. I think they had some help from the Secret Service here.
So you take all kinds of money.
This money is easy money, right?
Okay.
Easy money. That's why, political is very...
Politics,
politics is very, very dark and dirty. I hate it, but I have to use their...
And right now you're out because the other party's in.
These are videos which were supplied and given in evidence as part of the case against Wilson Liu. You see the undercover FBI agent Bob Hamer talking in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Pasadena, California, with Wilson Liu and a guy who was like one of Hamer's main criminal contacts, a man called John Yu, who helped set this whole conspiracy up and was himself an importer of counterfeit cigarettes and other items.
I have a good connection in Asia. It's 100% for sure. When you got like this kind of business, if you do one time, you don't want to do the other business anymore.
Okay.
Listen, you know it's more than $5,000 you touch.
No, 5,000 or 10,000. Really?
Why don't you keep going up? Why don't you keep going a little higher then?
No, that's it. Really, that's it.
Because I don't think it was 5,000 or 10,000, and you know that. I know that. We all know that here. We know, Wilson. We got fingerprints on all your bills that you touched. Every single bill that you touched comes to our office, okay? And we run a fingerprint test on them. And they all come back to you, of the ones you touched, okay? So don't tell me that you don't know. Our agency analyzes every single bill that comes through. So do not sit there and tell me only 5,000, maybe 10,000, okay?
Because
Who gave it to you?
John.
At the Justice Department, Suzanne Hayden, an official who I interviewed for the piece, was ready to move to issuing indictments against the people in the regime who were directly responsible for this criminal activity. And then suddenly, boof, the administration pulled the plug. Now, the reason they did so was that North Korea indicated its willingness to return to what are called the six-party talks about basically controlling its nuclear weapons proliferation. Of course, this was just a sham. The condition that the North Koreans had for returning to the negotiating table was that all these sanctions and other measures that were in the pipeline would just stop. So the Bush administration, contrary to its very fierce rhetoric, basically just caved in on North Korea. And all these programs that were designed in a peaceful, non-kinetic, as military people have it, i.e. non-kind of directly warlike way to contain North Korea were just dropped. And of course, within just a few months, North Korea walked away from those talks. And we've seen this year, they've tested the new long-range missile, they've tested a new nuclear weapon. You know, they are not interested in negotiation at this point. The Obama administration is trying to use the United Nations actually to achieve quite similar goals to the Bush administration's program before it pulled the plug. The United Nations resolutions want to impose very tight financial sanctions on North Korea, and the signs are that this could have the kind of effect of containing North Korea that the Bush administration program that was stopped could have had. But of course, we're that much further down the track. They've had that much longer to build up their supplies of illegal materials and weapons that you know the rest of Asia is right to find very scary. You know, the longer you leave genies like this out of the bottle, the harder it is to put them back. So while the Obama administration, I think, does take this threat very seriously and is doing what it can, you know, it's facing a much harder task than was the case just only 3 or 4 years ago.